Hi again, patients. This is Dr. Chad Rolland from Rolland Chiropractic in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. You can find us at rollandhealth.com. I'm going to talk to you again today, part 2 of what to eat or not to eat. Last time we talked about making healthy choices. We talked about our avoiding sugar and the different types of things that digest like sugar. We talked about avoiding fat and unhealthy fats. We talked about having a good omega-3, omega-6 balance in our body. That is between omega-3 is going to be your healthy fats like nuts, some fish, and then omega-6 is grains. And we need both, but that's one of the things to consider is, do I have a healthy balance between the two? And then some people say, well, doc, you have to eat meat in order to have that. As you know, I'm a vegetarian, and I espouse that, and I'm mostly vegan. I try to avoid most animal products, including dairy, cheese, things like that. And so they say, where are you going to get your protein from? There's protein actually in vegetables, and there's a lot of protein in nuts, in organic, non-GMO soy. That to me is a good product. I can share that research with you if you contact me and you want to know. And then you think, okay, what about your omega-3s? Are you going to get that from fish? You can. And certainly there are some possible benefits to eating that. But then, do you know where the fish get it from? The fish get it from algae. And so you can find vegetarian sources for people who are strict about that. You can find vegetarian sources of omega-3s in there. We do need those omega-3s. They're important for healthy brain function, for healthy heart function, and for healthy cells. But we need to also think, where am I going to find that in a balanced way that fits with my particular philosophy about eating and the principles of health? So keep that in mind as you're looking at different types of fats and proteins and carbohydrates, whole grain carbohydrates, and how am I doing that. I'm going to share that with you later when I go through my handout and what I give to patients. The first thing I want to start off with, though, I want to start off with intermittent fasting. And some of you may be familiar with this term. It's kind of trendy now in 2020 as we're talking. And intermittent fasting can create a lot of benefits for your body. Let's talk about it briefly. When we're active and we're energized and we're going somewhere, it's often our sympathetic system, nervous system, that's the get up and go, the fight or flight. This is our sympathetic system. It is the parasympathetic. It's supposed to be a balance between the two. A parasympathetic system, which is the rest and the digest and the nest component of our nervous system. What does our society do? We're pushed so much into this stressed mode, especially with what we're going through right now in the spring of 2020, that even people with their eating, I'm in such a hurry, I have to move so fast, I've got to get that we're always in our sympathetic mode. And we're not using that parasympathetic to rest and to digest and to eat healthy, to sit down, to relax, to chew our food, to socialize with our family and friends. This is how digestion was designed to be, and this is the better and beneficial way to do it. Most meals, whether you have heard this or not before, but most meals, you can find it online, take 4 to 6 hours to digest. Simple carbohydrates, basic fruit, things like that, possibly a lower 4. Something that's a heavier protein meal, a larger meal, especially with meat, is going to take about 6 hours for your body to digest. And you need strong digestive acids to do that, and healthy enzymes to help break that down, healthy gut to help absorb it and get maximized nutrition. We're going to talk about that further in a future video about gallbladder, about acid reflux, and about some digestive problems, celiac and IBS, but there's not room to talk about that right now. Now let's go to intermittent fasting. Basically, as Dr. Fung says, the first thing I recommend that you do is go online to YouTube, look up Dr. Jason Fung. It's F-U-N-G. He's a medical doctor. He's a nephrologist. He works with a lot of patients with diabetes, kidneys problems, a lot of older patients. And you can find, just put in fasting, and you'll find a lot of interviews that he does. In an hour, he can talk way more about the details of it than I am here. And I recommend to my patients that they go, they look, and they check that out, and they think, could I do this? This sounds interesting, and I should try it. Before you jump in, go learn about it and find out how it benefits you and how you can do it. Now, I'm going to give you just a quick overview of it. Intermittent fasting basically means going a period of time without eating. And you say to yourself, well, we all do that. We always go a period of time. That's what we call it breakfast in the morning, right? You break your fast. You fasted through the night. But keep in mind, 4 to 6 hours for the food 4 to 6 hours for your meal to digest, so avoiding eating again, because it's like starting your dishwasher over again or starting your washing machine over again, going and putting dirty dishes or throwing laundry in and just starting that whole process. It needs to go through the cycle in order to stop. Now, after that, you have 3 stages that you go through. The blood sugar first is right there in your system. The next thing is when that goes low, your body starts drawing it out of your liver and the glycogen, and it breaks it down so you can use it. That's the second step. The third step is when it goes into your fat stores in your body, starts metabolizing those back into blood sugar so that you can use it for your system. And we call that ketosis, right? As it starts to come back into that. There's ketogenic eating styles where people say, well, I want to keep my blood sugar really low and I want to go into using those fat stores. People get great results with that. It's very dynamic. However, ketogenic dieting is harmful for your body long term. Studies have shown that. Yes, you get short-term benefits. As soon as somebody comes out of it, pops back, there's other problems. So what can we do? One alternative is to do intermittent fasting. Okay, intermittent fasting. Yes, healthy eating is important, but Dr. Fung doesn't emphasize so much about what to eat, although I've talked about that and it's definitely important, but when to eat. When to eat. And what he'll say is that you want to eat in a window of time during the day that is approximately 6 to 8 hours. Ideally, that would be morning to mid-afternoon. So say 6 hours between 9 a.m. for a big breakfast, like the farmers used to do, and then 3 o'clock in the afternoon for a big dinner, like the farmers used to do in an agricultural society. But that's ideal. Now, most of us in our lifestyle aren't able to do that, or we choose not to because of our work schedule, because of the other things and ways that we eat. So going and finding a window between late morning or noon and say 6 p.m., so there's your 6 hours, do 8 hours if you want to, and you're eating all of your food in that 8-hour window. Now ideally having 2 meals, one in the beginning of the window, one at the end of the window, so that you have a time in between for digestion. But at least that you're restricting yourself so that all of your calories are consumed, including beverages. No beverages except for water and possibly tea. There's a little debate about some of that. Herb tea with no sweetener, of course. And having that just during, outside of the window of your eating. All the eating just happens in that window of time that allows all of your blood sugar to occur. And then you go through those 3 phases of sugar digestion. First in the blood, then from the liver, then drawing from the fat. And your body actually switches into that. After you've gone through it for several days or a week or 2, your body gets used to that. And then you'll be able to quickly snap in and out of that processing, and you'll find that your body will become healthier, you'll lose weight, your blood sugar will come under control, your A1C will decrease, your thinking will become more clear. There's just so many benefits for that. People say to Dr. Fung, hey doc, I can't do this, it's too hard. And he's like, well, what's the problem? Well, I don't have any extra money. Great. This doesn't cost anything. It's fasting. It saves you money. Well, I'm very busy. I don't have time. Oh, that's good. This is Dr. Fung saying this in a sarcastic way. That's good. He's like, because fasting saves you time. You don't have to cook, you don't have to shop, and you don't have to eat so much. That's one benefit. People say, hey, I'm on this special diet, I'm on that special diet, and he says, no problem. You can eat your special diet. Are you vegetarian or vegan? Fine. Are you a carnivore and you insist on eating all that meat? Okay, you can eat it. Just do it during your eating window. You like your sweets? They're not healthy? Eat them during the window. No snacking outside of the window. That's one of the big cardinal rules, including beverages. Americans drink approximately 1/3 of their calories in beverages. And so when you look at that, that's a huge problem. Eat in the window. Intermittent fasting, huge benefit for insulin resistance, for diabetes, for heart disease, for immune benefits. Because when you go into those fasting and you need special information, coordinating with your doctor if you have other health problems, but when you go into that time window for fasting beyond 16 or 18 hours, some people argue even longer, and some of the fasting guidelines will suggest later on, don't freak out people, will suggest later on 24 hours, maybe 36 hours, once in a while, and that causes advanced healing and regeneration in your body, nervous system, other types of tissues that have been injured for years and then able to come back and heal when you go through that. Because when you go through the fasting cycles, it breaks down for initially during the fast, and then when you start feeding again with healthy foods, it restores and rejuvenates tissues that have just sat there unchanged for possibly years, and can get really amazing results. I urge you to look into that. It's a huge benefit. My wife and I have started doing that, even though I thought I already ate healthy, and sometimes my eating schedule is not that great, but I do really try to eat healthy foods, and now I'm doing on a regular basis an intermittent fasting. If you want to know more details about that, I did do a whole hour presentation at my local library about intermittent fasting, so I cannot give you those details right now, but I want you to look into his book, look into Dr. Fung's website. He has a great website. I'm sorry I don't have the link here for you, but you can find him easily online, and you can find his YouTube videos, which I definitely recommend. Now stay tuned. Let's go through the guidelines that I use on the internet and in my office for patients who are looking and saying, hey, Dr. Rolland, what kind of things do you recommend that we talk about, that I use to eat, to shop, to buy? I'm just going to read down through them. I apologize for reading, but this is something that I'm going to be able to be more clear and more succinct if I do that. If you want the handout, it is on my website. You can find it posted there. So first of all, consider intermittent fasting. Recommend at least an 8-hour window, possibly 6 if you can go to a 6-hour eating window, and you'd have, of course, water and tea. Keep your meal times regular. Remember, your body prepares itself. Just like it prepares to sleep, you have circadian rhythms. Having totally crazy and random eating times, just like random sleeping times, people who work on split shifts, swing shifts, why they do that to nurses and doctors, it's horrible for your body. It's really bad for you. And so having the ability, I understand there's some practical reasons for it, but in 2020, with electronic scheduling and things, we should do better in order to take care of our people and help them take care of their bodies with sleeping and with eating. So regular schedules, as we talked about, sit and chew and eat in a relaxed manner. Don't be all stressed out about it, because that really hampers your digestion. Chew. Don't gulp it down. We need to be able to start digestion in our mouth with mastication, the saliva, and then it goes in the stomach, and then there's digestion, and then there's a processing with the gallbladder in the small intestine, and then there's final absorption and completion in the large intestine. We need all parts of that. Oh, by the way, you need your gallbladder for healthy digestion. So if you're thinking about having it taken out and you want some alternative options, I'm not saying if you're in desperate pain and you're like, hey, that you don't go and do that, but deal with it earlier. Eat healthy, deal with the gallbladder. My wife's been through that situation. There's numerous things that we found that we were able to help her with, and you can be helped too. Just look into that and think about, even though it's trendy, think about it, talk to your doctor and to us if you're interested. Avoid snacking. Focus on nutrient-dense, complex carbohydrates. Dr. Sear's website, he talks about the study that says they did not create the problems with children's behavior and learning and all if they're using complex carbohydrates. Attempt to eat at least 1 to 3 fruits or vegetables with a variety of colors with every meal. Prioritize raw foods or lightly steamed or sautéed, quick fried, sautéed. Prefer fresh or frozen fruits and vegetables, if you have to, over canned. Canned processing, some of it's okay, but the flash freezing that some of the companies use now preserves most of the nutrients if you can't get fresh. Try to eat a ratio of 2 to 3 vegetables for every fruit, because we talked about there's more sugar in the fruit. Consider doing a daily veggie juice or smoothie. Now you might not do that every day, because you're trying to get concentrated nutrition, especially if somebody's ill and they want something that they can add nutrition to their body, and so that's a good way to get concentrated nutrition, because you may look at a plate of vegetables and you say, I'm not like Dr. Rolland, I'm not going to sit down and eat a whole plate of these raw vegetables, but you could put them into a juice form that'll absorb more quickly, and you can get that in your system fairly well. We'll talk about it later. There's an interesting DVD out called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Talks about detoxing and using juice. Now, I don't recommend, because there can be problems with using a juice fast or a juice detox over a long period of time. You have to be careful, and you have to understand what you're doing and know when to stop it. But that's something to look at. Drink purified water, at least half your body weight every day. Also for herbal tea, lemon water, etc. Some people don't like the taste of water, so you can put a little lemon juice in it if you want to. But that's not recommended during your fasting period. Just regular water. Try different types of water. There's different flavors out there. Not flavored water, but I mean whether it is. And avoid distilled water, because they take all the minerals out. So spring water or well water would be the two that are preferred. We'd rather not get the chemicals from the local municipality, the chlorine, bromine, of course, is a problem, and the fluorine. So why? Because those interfere with iodine. They're all in the same category on the periodic table, and your iodine is important especially for your thyroid and other main functions of your body, and those interfere with it. So we try to keep those out of our water system if possible. Avoid brown drinks. What do I mean? Coffee, black tea, cola, other types of brown or black soda pop. Okay? I suppose chocolate milk could fall in there too. Eat high fiber foods. Foods with every meal. You're trying to get some whole plant-based foods. Not only are they highly nutritious, but you're going to get the fiber, which is really important with your digestion and your detox. Avoid inflammatory foods. What causes inflammation? Sugar, dairy, red meat, refined foods like white what? We talked about it last time. Carbohydrates such as rice, pasta, bread, okay? There's a lot of white. Avoid sugar and minimize even natural sweeteners too, but maybe use some stevia, some natural maple syrup, some local raw honey. Avoid all artificial sweeteners and additives like aspartame and food colorings, because there's huge amounts of problems with that, and they cause a lot of different issues for your body. We can test you if you want to find out, hey, what food additives and colorings and sweeteners and other types of things am I sensitive to. There's something called the ALCAT test, A-L-C-A-T. We do that testing through our office. You get some blood drawn, it sends off and comes back in a short period of time, and you can find out specifically which of those that you're sensitive to, because sometimes it's hard to avoid all of them. Severely limits processed foods, we talk about that. Avoid all tobacco, alcohol, and recreational drugs. Certainly limit over-the-counters and prescription drugs. We talked about that as well before, all the different challenges that those cause for your body and how it has to detox those. Eat plant-based protein at every meal, including nuts and seeds, walnuts, almonds, sunflowers, chias, nut butters. They're highly nutritious. If you're trying to get some protein, eat healthy fats at every meal, avocados, olive oil, coconut oil, flaxseed oil, sesame seed oil. We've discussed some of those individually, and I can talk with you in person if you want to know more, or through correspondence. Avoid or severely limit dairy. We've talked about dairy, some of the issues with that, some of the problems with it, oxidation causing congestion, interfering now that we use homogenized dairy and we use pasteurized dairy. That's some of the problem. And then, of course, meat. If you're going to use that, try to get non-hormone, non-antibiotic, non-GMO, free-range, clean meats. What do I mean by clean meats? Well, certain animals have been classified as unclean and unhealthy because they carry a lot more toxins in them. And this goes into unhealthy fats. Fats that we eat in our body or take into our body, when we have fat in our body, that's where we store a lot of toxins. So if we are getting fat from another animal, they're storing toxins in that fat as well. Particularly when you're talking about animal fats, lard. Of course, we avoid partially hydrogenated fats, saturated fats, hydrogenated fats. They're all bad. Eat green and multicolored fruits and vegetables. Cruciferous are particularly important, like cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale. They have, and I was going to go on and give you all the things. They're in my handout, all the particular components that are in there. Eat your greens, spinach, wheatgrass, seaweed. Eat your reds. Tomatoes, of course, oranges, yams, and carrots, and you get a lot of nutrients from each of these, and we don't have time to go into all of them, but of course yellow peppers, citrus, the blues, right? Blueberries, red raspberries, and berries are on the top of the list for some of the highest nutrients and how they help your body. Apples, you get quercetin, and you get other nutritional things from apples, and local fruits and vegetables. Purples like grapes, beets. Other things to consider would be the health benefits of cucumbers. So you just get so many from those. Include also in your diet intake things like garlic, onions, and leeks, cayenne, turmeric, ginger. These are immune and anti-inflammatory benefits. Include parsley or cilantro, watercress, fennel, caraway, dill. These are excellent detoxifiers. Include also common herbs like oregano, basil, thyme, dandelion, and mints. These also provide immune support, digestive support, and that's something to consider. Eat whole grains like brown rice, oats, quinoa, bulgur, millet, barley, spelt, especially some of the older grains. Yes, you can eat whole wheat, and there's some benefits to that. It's hard to find one that's non-GMO nowadays. And the chemicals that they spray on them, the pesticides that they spray on them, and the other special treatments that they do actually goes into the grain. So when you're consuming high volumes of those grains, you are actually consuming some of those chemicals because the plant takes it up, it keeps the weeds out, for example, Monsanto's Roundup, and you're consuming that glyphosate when you consume some of those genetically modified products that are being put on the market today. Eat a number of legumes. Legumes are beans, peas, lentils, chickpeas. Again, minimize non-GMO soy or avoid it altogether. I really go with organic, non-genetic. I said minimize non. I meant emphasize, have moderate amounts of non-GMO organic soy products, but avoid altogether if it's genetically modified and it's non-organic. Legumes have just so many different benefits, and there's a lot of different types of beans and peas that you can try out there, lentils if I mentioned. So just look at those. There's a tremendous amount of protein, fiber, and a lot of nutrition and some healthy fats in those grains and legumes. Avoid, of course, I already mentioned the genetically modified corn and wheat. Those are two of the biggest ones in our country, and that includes some of the oils that come from them. Most are genetically modified, as you know. Also, you get the phytic acid from non-GMO wheat, and though some people feel that that might be helpful, you need it for nutrition, stick with non-genetically modified, especially if you can get the healthy versions. What else? Well, we're running out of time here. I know the video is running long. You'll see my other videos for using Nature's 8 Doctors called New Start, focusing on restful sleep, prioritizing daily mild exercise of 20 to 30 minutes, also including some stretching, some weight training, some flexibility training, and some balance training, using hydrotherapy, hot and cold showers, skin brushing, stimulate your immune system, building a positive mood or attitude, having an attitude of gratitude, an attitude of generosity. We've talked about that in my Nature's Doctors videos. Build a positive social support. I know sometimes it's hard now with social distancing, and so you have to figure out how to do that remotely, and then as soon as possible, because healing is benefit, hands-on touch. People need touch. That's important for healing, and so when you're able to do that as much as possible, find a way to serve and help someone. We talked about that, giving back, being generous, strengthening your personal faith and your spirituality. Of course, that provides peace, assurance, and hope, and that goes back to where we started from, because it helps to reduce the stress in your body, allow healthy digestion. And just a few quick things I'm going to share with you, and then I'll be closing the video. People want to know, well, how do I come up with these menus? Here's a couple of tips. The Vegetarian Advantage, I'm biased in that regard, and I'll share that with you. Here's another book about that, Becoming Vegetarian. What am I going to know? You need to be able to do it well if you're going to do it. I don't tell all my patients, hey, you must do this, but I recommend it because it is a healthier lifestyle. These are some vegetarian cookbooks I'm recommending to you, and so think about this. Okay, the Revive Cookbook Series, 7 Secrets. Okay, that's an interesting one. Here's another one coming up, More Choices. All right, so you're looking at that. These have a lot of really great pictures, really great, well thought out recipes, and you'll be able to go through some of these. Here's another one by Hans Diehl, The Optimal Diet, to help with high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, obesity. So you'll look at some of those. And then lastly, here's a health cookbook called Natural Lifestyle Cooking. Now, you don't have to look at these, but these are some that I do recommend if you're interested in these healthy lifestyle cooking. They have gone through and tried to carefully pick the different ingredients in those recipes so that they're fairly easy to find, they're very healthy, they're nutritious, they're easy to cook, easy to assemble, they're tasty. You want something that's not just thrown together. You need to, especially if you're trying tofu, people. We'll talk about that another time, but it doesn't have much flavor. You need to know how to cook it and prepare it. Same thing with the grains and some of those other vegetables, so that you can have the health benefits and enjoy it, because food was designed to be enjoyed, and that's what people say. I just got to get my fast food. I need to go to one of those restaurants so that I can get this. You can do a lot at home, and you can have great food that's very nutritious, fairly affordable, easy to get at the grocery store, fairly easy to prepare, and tastes good, looks good, and makes you healthy. So this is something that you need to look into. Remember, I'm not your doctor. This is educational information. I want you to consider contacting us if you'd like more information or you have questions. You can find us at rollandhealth.com. We do nutritional testing. We do health plan recommendations for people. You can also reach us through our phone number, 814-734-5000. Call us if you want to get started on any of these or you have further questions. Until next time, we can also do that remotely nowadays through telemedicine, so I want to mention that to you if you need to. Until next time, this is Dr. Chad Rolland. I'm wishing you the very best of health and happiness. Take care.